Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a single talking to Derek. Okay, let's get a something a little straight here. Is Lenny Bruce was a drug dealer, or not drug dealer, but a druggie. We know this. But he was also picked on for his content, that he would say every word in the book, the N-word. He was very vulgar when his presentation and his comedy. So some of these words are going to be in some of this content that we're going over. So if you have a problem with words and you're offended, then you need to leave the stream right now. If not, welcome to craziness with us. All right, let's get into this. All right. I wanted to do a little disclaimer just to make sure that everybody wasn't afraid of words.
I thought you were going to announce that I'd been fired. I'm like, wait a minute, where am I on the screen? But I got you.
No, because I'm going to end up clipping this segment. I don't want idiots to come out and say, well, you're an ish or you're an ish. And it's like, no, you're an idiot who's afraid of words.
Correct.
And we just had somebody that we just talked about killed because of words.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're offended by words, this is your opportunity to see you. Bye. We'll see you we'll see you on Tuesday. Okay. All right. Here we go. So let me pull up the first one. All right. Okay. So I've got a couple of little small documentary style videos. I've got a couple of his performances, real short performances, not like a full hour when they like that.
Yep, Lenny Bruce.
I've got some people that are talking about Lenny Bruce and knowing him or interacting with him and what their thoughts about his what their thoughts about him was. All right, so let's go and get
Lenny Bruce. That's a name I have heard a million times, and I know next to nothing about him. So I'm looking forward to learning along with you, Derek.
Okay, so I don't know if some of this stuff is going to be covered, so I'm just going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're just going to jump into it. Okay, so Lenny Bruce was his parents had split up at some point. His mother was a burlesque dancer. His father, I think, was just kind of a regular Joe, and they kind of split. They split up. Lenny Bruce went with his father, and then when he got old enough, maybe a teenager or maybe a little older than teenager, he went back over to being closer to his mom, and he started doing his comedy at her burlesque shows, and that's sort of how he honed his craft and his at these burlesque shows that his mother was a part of, and then he also started doing shows at strip clubs. So we had talked about this a little bit before the stream, and it might be in one of the videos, is he had to be a little bit more, his content had to be a little bit more jarring so that people would pay attention to him. Because you're not going to a strip club or a burlesque club to listen to some guy yammer about stuff.
No.
You're there to see the girls. You're there to see the benefits that girls have.
Right. You're not there for the ha-ha. You're there for the tatas.
Yes, that's correct. So he had to be polarizing. He had to kind of push the envelope a little bit. It was just the way that it was and how it fell at the clubs that he was at. So that kind of gives us a little bit of context at first. So we'll watch this first one.
All right.
Lenny Bruce was born Leonard Alfred Schneider in 1925, New York City. He was a stand-up comic, writer, and social critic known for tackling controversial and sensitive subject matter. As a result of his parents' divorce when he was just a boy, he lived with a variety of his relatives for a decade. He rarely saw his father, but his stage performer mother had a big influence on his desire to perform. Age 16, Bruce joined the US Navy.
What you doing?
And served in World War II. While aboard the USS Brooklyn, he performed a stand-up act for his shipmates in full drag, which caused trouble with his superiors. He got himself dishonorably discharged from the Navy, having lied to the
So he dressed in full drag, and I think it was to piss them off because he didn't want to be there anymore. So he did whatever he could to get himself away from the military.
And I think from what little I know about him, it seems like throughout his life he was always subversive like that. Now, what I find funny is the shrinks pulled him aside on the ship. The shipboard shrinks are like, I know it's a bit, dude, but you sure you're not gay? Why are you gay? I heard Ariana Grande just shouted you out in her acceptance speech. We're a little concerned.
She was actually shouting out Lenny Bruce. It's crazy.
Yep.
The ship's medical officer, saying that he was experiencing homosexual urges, though he fought to have his discharge reclassified as honorable, as he hadn't broken any official rules. Bruce moved to New York and began gigging as a comedian. He initially found it difficult to make a name for himself in a saturated scene, until he met another comedian named Joe Ancis, who encouraged a more ad-libbed and looser approach to performance. He became famous for this free-form and ad-lib comedy style, as well as his bold and contentious insights on a broad range of topics, including religion, drugs, race, politics, and Jewishness. He was branded by the press as sick, resulting in him being more or less blacklisted from television, unless his routines were written out and pre-approved prior to the show. Everything.
Okay, I've got something. Let me see here. Let's see here. Okay, so this is one of the critics right here. I found this and I thought that was pretty fascinating. Where it's an article about him. They call Lenny Bruce sick. A sick comic, and sick he is. Sick of the pretentious phoniness of the generation that makes his humor meaningful. He's a rebel, but not without a cause. For there are shirts that need unscuffling, egos that need deflating, and the previous few people to do this sticky job with talent and style. So yeah, they literally in a this is probably what, a newspaper or a magazine. They literally like this guy's a sicko.
It looks like a newsletter, like a fanzine or something, like an underground kind of publication.
Impolite interview with Lenny Bruce. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Anyway, we'll get back to the.
Bruce did seem to court controversy, including his marriage to Honey Harlow, a stripper. This resulted in his moving to Los Angeles, where he often performed and
she was pretty hot, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
Druggy, but hot.
emceed at strip clubs all around the San Fernando Valley. The nature of these shows allowed him to develop and improve his routines without the watchful eye of the press, and with a far less judgmental audience. Bruce made a huge effort to earn enough money to enable his wife to stop stripping, which led to him committing several crimes, including theft, fraud, and impersonation of a priest. His performances often had the attention of the law, with Bruce being arrested for obscenity several times, often by undercover police officers in his audiences.
Could you imagine that? You go and you do your show, and there's an undercover officer waiting for you to say something so they can arrest you.
Yeah, he's just based on what we've watched so far. The other person that comes to mind that reminds me of him a little bit is Jim Morrison, who also got arrested for indecency at one of his concerts. And
okay, and they're basically waiting for him to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, in your opinion, do you think that they were fucking with him? I think at one point they were fucking with him because they knew he was a druggie. They knew he couldn't stay clean. It's
common knowledge and proven knowledge that the FBI kept their eye on certain subversive people. John Lennon, Jim Morrison, I would imagine. I don't know this for sure, but I guess he'd be on that list. So, yeah, I think they were fucking with him.
Okay, so this right here, let me blow this up just a tiny bit. Okay, so when they finally built this case around Lenny Bruce, it was a big, huge public thing, whereas People versus Bruce, okay? Look at all the stuff that he was accused of. Involved in at least 8 obscene arrests for Bruce alone. Entailed 6 trials in 4 cities. Took some 4 years and 3,500 pages of trial transcripts. required 8 state trial judges, not including numerous judges who heard bail matters and preliminary motions, engaged in more than a dozen state attorney and double the number of billable hours defense lawyers, promoted legal action by Bruce in federal court in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, consumed untold man hours and amount of public monies, compromised appeals and petitions to state higher courts, federal appeals court, appellate court, and the Supreme Court of the United States. That had nothing to do with his drugs. That had everything to do with just his performance.
Yeah, he was the degenerate drug addict and a criminal, but not for this. Like this, they were clearly trying to make an example out of him.
Yeah. And he got obsessed with fighting it. So if you were passionate about something and you didn't have necessarily the money or the resources, yeah. would you do everything in your damn power to try to not necessarily clear your name, but make it stated like, look, like just because I say something, it falls underneath my First Amendment right to say whatever it is.
Absolutely.
The N-word or whatever.
I've been in a situation where I was fighting for something that was right and I didn't have the resources to do it, but I stuck it out. Just went to court, talked myself, couldn't afford a lawyer. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do if you believe in something. So I respect him.
Yeah.
For that.
But it's crazy that all that is just his comedy. Had nothing to do with all the drug charges.
Right, or the fraud or the theft. And yeah.
It's wild.
Also caused the owners of the venues he was performing at to be arrested for letting him perform.
Oh, wow.
He was also arrested for drug possession.
I'd be a little pissed, too, that the owners of the club would get arrested, too, just because he was there. That's kind of fucking retarded.
Surprised some of the owners of the bar my old band played at didn't get arrested for letting us play.
So, but guys, we're talking about the 50s and 60s. So in the 50s, people didn't talk like this.
No.
Like when he came out against wars, he came out against racism. He came out against everything. And then, like I said, he used very colorful language. And it's funny is he would use the N-word. And if you looked at people in the crowd, half the people in the crowd were black, because I think it was they loved his honesty. They didn't necessarily agree with everything that he said, but I think they resonated with his honesty in his content or in his bits.
Yeah, and again, to reiterate what you said earlier, I have a feeling while we watch this stand-up, there will be him using the N-word. So if anybody gets triggered by certain letters being put in a certain order and then spoken out loud, there's your warning.
And was later barred from entering England, being labelled an undesirable alien.
See that one right there? That's a jab at him being Jewish.
Yeah.
So it's like he's saying a lot of naughty words, but look at that shit right there. That's propaganda because he's Jewish.
Yeah, looks like it.
So it's like two wrongs don't make a right.
No.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So
he was not a good guy, but whoever clearly did this shit is not a good person either.
Right.
An undesirable alien. Lenny Bruce caused a massive shift in attitude towards censorship and freedom of speech. Many other people working in arts stood by him and have referenced him in their own work. Bob Dylan's 1981 album, Shot of Love, features a song called Lenny Bruce. R.E.M. wrote about him too.
Yeah.
That's great, it starts with an earthquake. Birds and snakes and airplane. Lenny Bruce is not afraid.
Nico, famous for her work with Velvet Underground, wrote a song called Eulogy to Lenny Bruce and put it on her first solo album. He can be seen immortalized on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, surrounded by other figures.
Did you know that?
Nope, did not know that.
Interesting. You're a Beatles super fan.
Yeah, I can't name every face on Sgt. Pepper's cover. I need to get on that though. I should know that.
Huh.
No, I learned something. Cool.
Pretty cool.
The Beatles admired and were inspired by. In 1974, Lenny, starring Dustin Hoffman, was released. It was a sign of how times had changed that the film was able to feature the material that had been labelled obscene a couple of decades before. More recently, the TV show The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel features a fictionalized Lenny Bruce, the show's only character based on a real-life person, in a guardian angel-like role to the title character, Mrs. Maisel's comedy career. A 1964 obscenity trial was highly publicized, with testimonies from several notable and respectable figures giving positive testimony.
Who's wow. Bob Dylan?
Yeah.
On Bruce's behalf. These testimonies did little to help, with Bruce being sentenced to 4 months in a workhouse.
Because it wasn't necessarily that they agreed with his drug use. It was about the art.
Sure.
It was about his freedom to express. Because I'm a firm believer. Like I'm not a First Amendment absolutist. I think there are some little things that you can't say fire or bomb in a theater.
Yeah, sure.
You can't advocate for somebody to die and then call it freedom of speech. There is a little bit of a limit, but that's it. You should have the ability to have the freedom of expression, and then your audience is what tells you if they like it or not. It shouldn't be up to the government. It shouldn't be up to the law. It shouldn't be up to anybody other than the people that you are performing in front of. If they like it, they'll show up. If they don't show up.
I agree.
All right.
Before the sentence began, he was released on bail, but died before the appeal he made was decided. He was, however, posthumously pardoned of his charges. As views on Bruce's career have changed with the times, he has come to be seen as a truly groundbreaking comedian, often listed as one of the best of all time.
That's just their logo.
Yeah. So I guess the government's thought process is that this guy is going to influence young people, and that's going to be a problem. So they're trying to nip it in the bud. Wrongly. I don't agree with the government on this, but I'm guessing that's what they thought.
It's not the government's... Unless he's telling somebody to burn a building down or kill somebody, it's not the government's job to do that.
I couldn't agree more.
And I understand that there was a shift from 50s culture to 60s culture. I understand that. But it's the government is there to protect you and represent you on a global scale, because obviously Jim in Milwaukee can't do that.
Sure.
It's the government is there to protect you, to make sure that you are safe and that you can provide for a family, not manage speech because you said a word they didn't like. Yep. Like that shit doesn't fly with me at all.
Yep. To me, the government, it's defend borders, build roads.
Yes. And we're running into that stuff now because
we are.
Because the government, no matter whoever the president is, the government is being swayed by bad actors that want to sit there and say, well, you can't say that on social media. And then the government will pose as somebody and try to entrap you on social media and say that, well, you broke the law there. You can't entrap somebody on social media, infringe on their First Amendment rights, and then call that you screwed up, or you like. There's a lot of bad actors that is happening right now, which resembles a lot of the 60s, as far as, in my opinion.
I agree. I was actually just saying that. I was like, gosh, we haven't really come a long way at all since then. It's the same shit now as it was then.
I think so.
Lenny Bruce put it best when he said, you can't take away the right to say fuck without taking away the right to say fuck the government. Lenny Bruce was a path-breaking comedian. He was practicing his trade at a time of great cultural change, and he was someone who broke down barriers. Doing that at that time also got him into a lot of trouble.
I have a reputation for being sort of controversial and irreverent, and also the semantic bear trap of bad taste.
And the thing about Lenny Bruce is he wasn't in the mold of those sort of stand-up comics from before that told mother-in-law jokes and did impressions in the Borch Belt.
All you married men who want to get your wife nervous, when you go to bed tonight, don't talk in your sleep, just grin.
He was really someone who started.
Hot take, that wasn't really that funny. So they had to have a laugh track because it wasn't really that funny. You know?
No, yeah.
Like yaka yaka yaka. You know what I mean?
Take my wife, please. Actually, you know what? That is a funny joke, to be honest with you. If you talk to a married person, you're like, yeah, I get it. That's it. It's funny. It's the please. That's the funny part. Like, please take her. Anyways.
Engaging in personal revelation, talking about issues, talking about social conditions, and he did so in a sort of a free-form style of the time.
But you might be interested in how I became offensive. Like, started in school with drinking, and I was like a real depressed kid, and, you know, 7 or 8 years old, and I really get juiced and get out of my
Talking about those kinds of taboo topics, whether it was religion, sex, politics, and pushing the boundaries, is really what set him apart from comics from before, but also got him in trouble with the law.
We're going to be in attendance at your performances, Mr. Bruce. Hope that you're going to use appropriate material and not violate the obscenity laws of the state of New York.
Could you imagine that before you go on, somebody's like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't say fuck, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't say, what?
Well, if it's the bar owner, I don't blame him, though, because he's going to get taken down to the Hooskow, too. So he's like,
that
dude.
didn't sound like the bar owner. That sounded like the law.
Oh, well, if that was the law, that's silly.
I could be wrong, but that sounded like the city was calling him saying, hey, yo, don't see that. We're going to come get you if you use it.
Police would either be tipped off or they would show up and wait for him to say something that crossed the line. Some notable performances, like at the Gate of Horn in Chicago, for example, you had a wall of policemen standing at the back of the venue, and then they would, once he...
And, you know, probably the most retarded thing is every one of those guys were probably liking it, but they had to fucking arrest them because it was the law.
Yeah, they were doing their job, I guess. Boy, what a killjoy of a presence, though, in a comedy show. A wall of cops.
Buzzkill, damn.
Buzzkill, yeah, better.
It's like, I'm trying to get freaking fucked up here, and I got the law lined up. Like, what is going on right now? Like, I ain't going anywhere. It'd be 4 o'clock in the morning. I ain't going shit, because if I leave and get in my car, I'm getting busted.
Mm-hmm.
Said something that they thought violated the law, they would then haul him off and put him in a paddy wagon. Lenny was more...
That is so stupid. But that's the same thing that Elvis went through, right? With him shaking his hips?
Well, yeah, he didn't get arrested or anything. They just wouldn't show him from the waist up on certain television shows because they thought it was inappropriate.
I'm pretty sure he got arrested before he decided to go to the military. I'm pretty sure he got arrested for shaking his hips.
Oh, okay. You could be right.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did get arrested at least once.
We'll go with it.
It was like inappropriate movement or something.
Inappropriate swiveling.
Swiveling the hips. I never would have thought that would have been illegal.
Notable because of the fact that he got into so much trouble and because he was arrested and ultimately convicted in the state of New York.
And the big bust in the Big Apple, 64. Cafe A Go-Go in New York City. Frank Hogan, the Manhattan District Attorney, Mr. D.A., had enough.
Was that Hulk Hogan's father?
Maybe. Could be. Could be.
I sometimes wonder what has happened to our moral values.
How in the last year or so has the pressure been increased against you?
It's chic to arrest me.
When he died in 1966, the conviction remained on the books.
Lenny Bruce was the last comedian in American history.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. When it gets to the point where some of the politicians will arrest somebody because it'll make them look good and get reelected because they stopped big bad Lenny Bruce or whoever it is.
Trump,
same thing. Exact same thing. And there's other people throughout the history that's been the same thing where he's more of a pawn so that they can basically look like they're getting rid of the big bad Lenny Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for as messed up and the drugs that he did and all this other stuff, he was also used as a pawn, which is where I kind of resonate with him, where it's like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's, from what I've read and some of the research I did last night, I came away from this, and maybe after this show I'll change my mind, but at the moment I'm like, the guy was kind of an asshole, degenerate, criminal, drug addict. I didn't really like him, but I that doesn't justify the government coming after him like they did and making a target out of him. So I sympathize with him in that little part.
It doesn't justify his drugs and having track marks all up and down his arms and all that shit. It doesn't justify that.
Yeah, but that's on him, though.
Picked on and purposely used as a pawn to get rid of the big bad Lenny Bruce because he's saying bad words. That's where I have a problem, you know?
Yep.
I have more of a problem with that than him doing drugs because that's on him. He was the one that decided he wanted to go down that path.
Correct. He doesn't hurt anybody except himself. So that's victimless crime, really. Don't care about that. It's the thieving and the larceny and the fraud and stuff you get arrested for. That was a little squirrely.
Yeah.
History to be prosecuted for word crimes in a comedy club. And it's not like the Supreme Court ruled from on high. It's not like they issued a decision. His case never went there. But after Lenny paid the dues, the culture changed. And how did it all end? The foul-mouthed comedian dies penniless. He dies a convicted man.
I remember over one lunch, Ron was saying, you know, that conviction's still out there. If only there was something that someone could do about it. Do you know anything about...
And we saw it today. We saw it the last 10 years. Is they sent the law after him to extract money out of him so that he couldn't protect himself. They tried to do it with Trump. We don't like him. We're trying to take his money away from him. Same thing. So Lenny Bruce literally died penniless, broken, drug addicted, and it was just like, oh, we have no fucks to give. That guy, we don't like that guy, so fuck that guy.
Well, he would have spent all his money on drugs anyway, so he may have still wound up penniless regardless.
We don't know that, though. I mean,
don't know.
We don't know that. I mean, we can only assume that yes, he was a druggie, and there's only one path down that road that we could see that it was going. But I'm just saying, is they purposely got the law after him to extract money out of him because we don't like that guy. Fuck that guy. He's fighting against us. We don't like him.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
So on a First Amendment basis, I hate that. That's the shit I hate. The fact that he put himself in that position is a different conversation, in my opinion. It's we don't like that guy, and we're ending him.
Yeah, it was a witch hunt.
Yeah. Which, regardless of who it is, I don't like that shit.
Nope.
Posthumous pardons. And, well, no, I didn't. And so I wondered about that possibility and went back after lunch and did an hour or two of research and got back in touch with Ron and said, well, it is possible. It's never been done in New York, but it's been done by several other states. It's been done once by the federal government, and so it's possible. And then he said, well, how would you like to work on a case to get a posthumous pardon for Lenny Bruce? Did a petition, filed it with Governor Pataki in New York. Actually, we didn't know what Governor Pataki's reaction would be to the pardon. And so months passed, no word, until finally I was just finishing work that year for the holidays.
And I think it was like 20 years after he passed that he finally got pardoned.
Yeah, because Pataki was governor, in the late 80s, early 90s, I think
so. That's wild. Like, oh, we're gonna pardon him 20 years later after he died. Broken piece of shit.
When I get a call on my cell phone, and so being a responsible driver, I pull to the side of the road, and it's the governor's aide saying, I just wanted to give you a heads up. In about 15 minutes, Governor Pataki is going to announce that he has granted the posthumous pardon for Lenny Bruce, and you're probably going to start getting some calls from the press. And so Governor Pataki granted the pardon, and it became the first posthumous pardon in New York history. One of my favorite lines from the New York Times coverage of the pardon, it was on the front page above the fold the day after the pardon was granted. But my favorite line from that article was The author wrote, "Being dead, Mr. Bruce is not expected to reap any immediate benefit from the pardon."
That's a good one.
Which is literally true.
That is pretty good. Well, and it's kind of sad because at this point you have Richard Pryor is doing his act.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Mooney's doing his act. Sam Kinison is doing his act. So they all fell into the same vein, but actually got to benefit from the stuff that Lenny Bruce went through.
Yep, they benefited from his sacrifice.
Yeah, basically.
So
and
yeah,
I think
that
a
makes
lot
sense.
of them. I think a lot of them over the years have recognized that, where he got shit on, and they're like, "Fuck that guy," but they've benefited from that crap that he went through. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With posthumous pardon, it's too late to help the person who is being pardoned. But it does several things that are, I think, very important. One is it recognizes that the state made a mistake. It made a mistake in trying to make someone a criminal for their speech, and particularly someone who is practicing sort of a unique American art form of stand-up comedy. To make that a crime is something that happens in authoritarian countries, not in the United States. So it is an apology for straying from the values on which this country was.
That was his girlfriend / wife right there.
Yeah, she's all right.
He would make little indie films on his own because nobody would want to talk to him or give him money because he already had a reputation by this time.
Mm-hmm.
So he would make little independent films and everything. But yeah, that was Honey. But he married her for a couple of years. They'd break up, and then they'd go like she went to jail for like 2 years because of drugs, and then she got out. She got out, went right back to Lenny Bruce. So it's like it was like they were what's that word? Like aiding and abetting each other. Like they were enabling each other.
Enabling, yeah.
Yeah.
Based, it corrects the historical record, and it makes a commitment for the future and for comedians and other artists to come that we're not going to make them criminals for practicing their trade in a country protected by the First Amendment. We're now coming up on the 20th anniversary of the posthumous pardon of Lenny Bruce, and I'd like to see people celebrate that by going to a comedy club. Celebrate by going and being offended.
Do you know who that guy is?
I don't. I couldn't see if they.
Well, the one guy was Ron Collins. I don't think his name was ever
said.
There. No.
Yeah, I don't.
All right, that's not important.
Yeah, I don't see a little thing saying what his name is. Okay, here's another one where it's kind of gets into some of the bribery and.
He allowed Lenny to use him, and the doctor would write scripts.
Lenny had prescriptions for his drugs, but that didn't seem to matter in the city of brotherly love.
I mean, look at the pits and stuff on his face. You can tell like he's a big-time druggie.
Hard life.
Yeah.
He was approached by a bail bondsman named Levy, who told Lenny if he paid off a judge named Kaiser, the drug charges would be dropped. Lenny refused, and instead went to the press.
Lenny, did you say you were offered to buy your way out of this?
Now, okay, I don't know if they might talk about it, but I don't know if you knew this or not, because the first couple times he got busted with drugs, he became an informant.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was an informant ratting out other people that were also in the drug scene. So he would get charged for something, but mysteriously it would go away. It's crazy. It's wild how it just all of a sudden just kind of went away.
My opinion of him just went down further. Rat.
He turned into a rat. And conspiracy theorists are trying to say that maybe they had laced the drugs that he took to kill himself because of all the ratting he did. I don't know. I think it was inevitable. I think you're right. I think it was inevitable because he was so far gone as far as his drug abuse,
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested when I know later you're going to play some stand-up, which I'm looking forward to. That's something I haven't seen before. So, and the reason I say that is if he's funny, then I'm a fan. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really, in the end, he's a comedian. If he makes me laugh, then I like him. If he doesn't, what he does in his life, it's interesting story.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of making judgment calls here because we're talking about it and, got to have some comment.
Very succinctly, Gary Leedy, a Nardone, a bail bondsman who was a supposedly intermediary. And he said to me, Mr. Leedy, who is the epitome of every Otto Kruger corruption that relates to the city, I know Magistrate Kaiser, and I can talk to him. We can cool the whole thing out for $10,000. Cool what out for $10,000? Well, I can talk. It's got to go to Lieutenant Bondi. We got to give him $500. Then we got to give the druggist $300. And the doctor, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Magistrate Kaiser's house down. Hey, Magistrate, with a nightcap, here's $50. Catch. No, man, I'm not going to involve myself with that. Now it went to a bargaining scene. Well, maybe we can try $5,000. He owes me a lot of favors. I want to this, Then to $3,000, then to $2,500. Now I said nada.
What's the purpose of these drugs that you did get, Lenny?
I don't know. I'm not a qualified physician, and that's where they really hung me up, And in court, he says, you got to get these drugs, and the patient insisted on them. I said, the patient insisted on them, and then I want pablum, and not only that, I want to kiss his wife and hug his grandma and cut his nose over the shearing scissor. That's also the patient insisted on.
And you've been strictly railroaded on this whole thing.
That's a good... well, the railroad, they really had it. I hate to bug them.
The charge in Philadelphia couldn't hold up in court, but the damage had been done. Lenny had exposed the bride, and he had named names. Lenny Bruce was now a marked man.
The police have a mutuality of interest, and if the guy gets off, it starts to circulate. Hey, listen, this bastard beat the case here. He beat the case either because he's a smart lawyer, because this witness lied. You get him up there.
Just 5 days after his arrest in Philadelphia, Lenny had a gig in San Francisco. He performed a show not unlike countless other shows of the past few years. There were no complaining customers, no walkouts. But this time, for the first time, Lenny was busted for performing an obscene show.
Busted for bad words.
The narrator sounds like De Niro.
It is. I'm pretty sure it is De Niro.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think it's funny when it's just like, he's a bad man for using those bad words.
Well,
How dare you?
It'd be a laugh if it wasn't a cry, because that shit's still going on today, especially over in Europe when you're getting thrown in jail for tweeting something.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The following is a recording of the actual performance Lenny gave that night. It was later played during his trial.
The first gig I ever worked up here was a place called Ann's 440. And I got a call, and the guy says, there's a place in San Francisco, but they've changed the policy. Well, what kind of a show is it, man? Well, Well, no, I don't know, man. It sounds kind of a weird show. Well, it's not a show. They're a bunch of cocksuckers, that's all. It's a damn fag show, and that's... Oh. Well, that is a pretty bizarre show. I don't know what I could do in that kind of a show. Well, now we want you to change all that. Well, that's a big gig.
I'm pretty sure you got arrested for that, too, saying that.
That's too bad. That was actually pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
I can just tell him to stop doing it.
Lenny's lawyer argued to have his case thrown out on a technicality, but Lenny wanted to go to trial to prove he was innocent of obscenity. Against his attorney's advice, Lenny testified on his own behalf. Whether he helped or hurt his own case, that was anybody's guess. The verdict was headline news in San Francisco and good news for Lenny. Under the concept of equal protection, the acquittal seemed to mean that he could now perform anywhere in the United States without fear of arrest. But it didn't work out that way.
Schmuck doesn't mean schmuck anymore. No, it doesn't have it. It's lost through use. Like goddamn you don't mean goddamn you anymore. I didn't curse you. I didn't damn you. Through usage, damn you has no. So the same with schmuck. Those people say, hey, you better say schmuck in front of a Jewish person, boy. They'll really get mad, right? Right?
When he was busted in L.A. for using the word schmuck, it became clear that someone...
Schmuck is a bad word?
I guess. It's Yiddish, I think, isn't it? You schmuck.
So it's not even English language, and you're getting hauled off. Because you used the word schmuck.
Mm-hmm.
Was playing hardball.
He allowed Lenny to...
Come on. So yeah, got busted for using the word schmuck.
Mm.
You schmuck.
You sure it wasn't the cocksucker routine that he got busted for?
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be. Okay, so I'd seen longer parts of this show, but I'd only found like there was a lot, like an hour long. It's like I don't want to watch an hour of it.
No.
But so I found a 6-minute clip of this,
mm-hmm.
and Hugh Hefner started a show where he would have celebrity guests come on and he would interview them. He would hang out and smoke with them, and they would hang around the Playboy bunnies, and you know it was always sort of like a cool place to hang, and he would interview him and stuff. And Lenny Bruce was one of his first guests, and he was very close with Lenny Bruce. So this is a 5-minute clip of Lenny Bruce on Playboy's penthouse, and it's just them hanging out and him kind of talking to him.
Well, we hope we'll have no such problems with our show here. We're gonna.
No, it's getting better, you know.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, I think you're right. I sense a change in the times and an ability to discuss things more openly on TV and movies.
I think we're going
magazines.
through a very interesting transition. First, there was Burroughs, slapstick, out comedy. Just a moment.
Hugh Hefner with the pipe.
What an animal.
The smoking jacket.
Dude, they got to bring these kind of shows back to late night TV. I'd watch this shit.
Absolutely.
Hot babes,
Just
smoking
hang out.
cigarettes, have a drink. Yeah.
That's why I like watching Rogan, because Rogan will smoke cigarettes with his guest, and
well, he's smoking funny cigarettes, but yeah.
Well, he doesn't do it on air, but he'll smoke cigars with the person, and he'll drink brandy or whatever.
Yeah.
For sick comedy, by the way. As I said, there was nothing new. Time magazine grew.
Because I always thought it was interesting, not the show stuff that a celebrity would do. It's sort of like the getting to know them as a person as opposed to what they want to show you. You know what I mean? It got a little bit more personable with your favorite people.
Yeah.
Because at this point, he was villainized. So having Lenny Bruce on there, and then all of a sudden, like, he gives a different take than that which you would actually think that he would give. Because he's so polarized by this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a more intimate conversation than you would get elsewhere.
So he might have turned some of the people that are like, you know what, fuck that guy. But then all of a sudden he comes out and he actually has like honest conversations. He might turn people and be like, you know what, the guy's messed up, but I kind of like him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grouped about 4 or 5 sick comics. Let's negate that immediately. Mortzall, brilliant, political, stand-up, stark monologist. Nothing sick about him, or he would have never done a Revlon spec. Shelley Berman, real Hamish, down-home humor, forget him. Jonathan Winters. Yeah, Jonathan's... yeah, he's beautiful. He's a little sick. Yeah, I dig him. In fact, they're taking me away soon. Jonathan finked on me. That's how he got out. He turned into nuts. And that's what the guy said.
Well, and at this point, Richard Pryor's just started, right? Because he started like in the 60s, if I remember correctly.
The late 60s? I don't know what time frame this will be. This is probably even before Richard Pryor's day, I would think.
Possibly.
Because didn't Lenny Bruce died in 66?
Something like I think so. If I remember correctly, it was 66 or 67. Because remember we had watched when we did Spectre. Spectre showed up on one of the talk shows, and Richard Pryor was super young sitting there. He couldn't have been any more than 18, 19 years old.
If I turn in 4 nuts, I can stay on the street. But Lou Costello, there's a good comedian, well-liked, well-loved comic. And the era that's criticizing the sick comic today, but believe me, I feel no hostility towards any reviewer that writes me, because I realize that the reviewer has to take a side, one man's opinion, and for him to knock makes a very interesting column. So I'm not drugged with any people who put down sick comedy, because I don't do any sick comedy, but it's a commercial tag that's happened now. The same as Calypso, which never was. Let's see, Lou Costello. Let me think of a joke that Costello would do. You'd never think of Lou Costello as a sick comic, would you?
No, family type home entertainment.
So that was an actual type, a sick comic?
I guess that was the term for it back then. Maybe it's because one of the articles I think we saw earlier was
they called him a sick comic.
Sick
so he
comic. He just took it and ran with it. Yeah.
So like an R-rated comic or something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Blue. They used to call it working blue in the comedian world. If you say, "Oh, he works blue," that means he tells a lot of dirty jokes and curses.
Really, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Works blue. Okay.
All right. Lou Costello used to do a joke. My wife died last night. Now, I would never move into that area at all in humor. I would never. A comedy is tragedy plus time. That's a little too close. All right, that's some sicko one. His wife died last night. He's humoring.
Hold on. Can you pause?
When she, on her deathbed.
That was a pretty heavy phrase he just said. Did you catch that? He said, comedy is tragedy plus time. That's pretty good. I like that.
But if you okay, so when the space shuttle blew up on my birthday, everybody was stunned. Everybody was like, the school teacher, people died. It was tragic. But then 6 months to a year later, it's like NASA need another 7 astronauts.
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one. Yeah.
So it was time, and people were making jokes and acronyms and all kinds of other stuff where he's right. Where if I would have said NASA need another 7 astronauts like the day after it happened, people have been like, "You're a freaking weirdo, dude."
Yep. I don't know.
So he's right.
Yep, that was a good phrase. I like that.
Bed, you said, when I die, if you cheat on me, I'll dig my way out of my grave and haunt you, which is a pretty macabre situation we're building. The joke, the punchline, I buried her face down, let her dig. That's sick. That's very sicko.
Well,
wife dead, crawling through the grave.
Edgar Allan Poe.
The hasty heart.
Well, it's been suggested, and I think there's something to it, that more than you're really operating in sick areas, it is society itself that maybe has some problems, and you kind of throw a little light on some of them.
Then again, I'd like to, I'd love to be the martyr, and say, yeah, that's right, a society's sick, and, I'm straightening out a lot of societal problems. But I realize that I'm society, it's never they. Your society, and it's like, integration to me is a big hang-up. I capsule it very quickly. I don't knock anybody who's not an out-and-out integration. It's just the way I look at it very simply. It's just from a moral aspect. If you're not an out-and-out integrationist, naturally you're an atheist, because Christ and Moses were teachers. And if you keep anybody out of school for 5 minutes, you're against every Christ-like concept, so that you're an atheist. Now, from a safety factor, the missiles, Polaris, Vanguard, Atlas, are made from academic background, physics. There's no such thing as give them a few dollars, they'll fix it. It doesn't work that way. So anyone who is not...
Maybe the Democratic Party should watch this video.
Yeah. Yeah, actually.
Just throw a couple bucks at it, it'll fix it. Okay.
I do find him... Yeah. I do find him likable in this interview.
Yeah.
Very well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
an out-and-out integrationist is just a communist, pro-communist, you know. So that bugs me. But I never get that. I'm just giving you a build now. I never get that philosophical with it on the floor without getting humorous. Whereas I've watched a lot of nighttime shows where they've got 4 or 5 colored people and 3 or 4 au faits, and they get heavy with it. It gets too profound. They just start discussing Porgy and Bess, which I'll give you quick for a moment. Porgy and Bess, Otto Preminger, forget him. He's a rank amateur. But as far as Porgy and Bess being a Jim Crow Uncle Tom picture, not so, because Porgy and Bess, the Spays at that time were funky and down home, you know, and he painted them just that way. Now, if you're going to get on a scene with colored people and you get too patronizing, then as Ralph Ellison says, it becomes the invisible man. You don't really treat them as people. You know, if, in other words, I'm Jewish, I don't resent Shylock in Shakespeare, you know. So, but on the floor, I'm a bug with integration, so I'll attack it humorously, and I'll go to Little Rock and I'll say that Little Rock has solved the situation. They've done it through legislation. If the colored people can pass the literacy test, they get the vote, and it's very fair. Well, let's see now, line all the colored people up here, and if they pass the test, they can get the vote here. It's very easy, just sign your name. There's this ballpoint pen, this piece of wax paper, and just sign
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has some good ideas.
I mean,
just in general from that interview, but not any specific idea. I'm just.
I mean, he was right on a few things where if it's like, do it this way and there's only way to do it, that's very authoritative.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like there's many ways to do it, not just one way.
Yep. I find it interesting, his idiosyncrasies with his hands. He's always snap, snap, clap.
Yeah.
He's nonstop. I was kind of getting annoyed. I'm like, stop it. Stop that.
Z snapping.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Remember that in Living Color? Z snapping?
Yep. Was it 2 snaps and a thumbs up or whatever they
something like that. They always had like something new every time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's okay, so this is a 2-minute long. This is one of his acts. Let me play this real quick.
The bust. What I got arrested for in San Francisco. San Francisco, I got arrested for what do you think? We can hear that, Daddy. I'm not going to repeat the word because I want to finish the gig here tonight. It's they said it was.
But he would add that to part of his act.
Yeah.
Where he was talking about him getting busted, and he would go through some of the notes that were part of the court case, and then he would make fun of it based off of that. So sometimes people were like, well, I was hoping he was going to say this type of joke, and sometimes he would just kind of go based off of like, well, last week they put me in jail because I said fuck. And then he would go through this whole diatribe of why he stood up for free speech and all this other stuff. So some people would get irritated where they would spend the money, and then all of a sudden he was kind of going off on like a tangent or something.
Mm. Well, it's sort of ironic that the government's trying to stop him, but at the same time sort of indirectly writing his material for him.
Exactly. That's pretty funny.
Is vernacular for a favorite homosexual practice, a 10-letter word. It's really chic. That's 2 4-letter words and a preposition. I can't, I wish I could tell you the word. It's, starts with a C. Well, you know what the word is. Now, it's weird how they manifested that word as homosexual. Because I don't. That relates to any contemporary chick I know, or would know, or would love, or would marry, you know. And, now, when I took the bust, I finished the show. I said that word, you know, the 10-letter word. And he comes over and says, Lenny, my name is Sergeant blah, blah. You know the word you said? I said a lot of words that time. Well, that word. Oh, yeah. Well, Lenny, that's against the law. I'm going to take you down. Okay, that's cool. It's against the law to say it and to do it. Well, I didn't do it, man. I know, but I just have to tell you that all the time. Okay. All right. Now, we're getting in the way again. And the one heat is cool, because he said you broke the law and specifically this thing. Now, the other guy, look, I got a wife and kid. I don't want to hear that crap at all, man. don't want you to get involved emotionally with this. What do you mean you want to hear that crap? Did your wife ever do that to you? Bam, then it got very sticky. No. You ever say the word no? Never said, honest to God, never said the word never. How long you married? 18 years. You ever chip it on your wife? Never. Never one time in 18 years you chip it on your lady? Never one time. Then I love you. Because you're a spiritual guy, but if you're lying, you'll spend some dead time in purgatory. Now, we really got into it. Okay, now, get in the court, take the same bus to Judge Aaron Alvermitz, a red-headed junkyard Jew, a real verbissiner with thick fingers and a homemade glass eye. Tougho, right? He comes in, blah, blah, swear the heat in. What do he say? Your Honor, he said blah, blah, blah. The judge, he said blah, blah, blah. Then the guy really yanked it up. That's right. I hadn't believe it. There was a guy up on the stage in front of women in a mixed audience saying blah, blah, blah. The judge, this I never heard, blah, blah, blah. Said blah, blah, blah.
They're being the arbiter of, well, you're being uncouth, so it's against the law for being uncouth.
Yeah, we don't like what you're saying, so we're going to go after you.
Well, because you said this to a girl, then that means that you're going to prison. It's like, what?
No.
So that's why I just said, you said blah, blah, blah. Maybe.
He said blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to lie to you. It's in the minutes. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. The DA. The guy said blah, blah, blah. Look at him. He's smug. He's not going to repent. Then I dug something. They sort of like saying blah, blah, blah. Because they said it a few extra times.
It's pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. Here's another one that's 1 minute and 27. Make it fun Irish people. Hail Irish people. See, my last name's Mullins, so yeah.
Oh, I see. My father's side is Irish.
Up to now, if you think that I'm a bit prejudiced, I'm going to pull the rug out from under you. Show you how prejudiced you are. See, the thing is, you have a choice of a judge or a jury. First place, you're a schmuckabata if you ever take the judge. Because the thing is, you're going to tell him a story to convince him.
I wonder if this was the act where he called the person a schmuck and got arrested.
Oh.
Remember? You got arrested for calling somebody a schmuck. So I wonder if it's this performance. I don't know.
Let's see. Maybe.
Then what kind of shit are you going to tell a judge he hasn't heard? You get 12 impressionable people, solid. Now, as far as getting a goyish attorney, solid. Because you are that prejudiced. Who is more likely to murder his daughter than rape her in a drunken state? An Irish father, an Italian father, a Jewish father? That's it, Jim. Even the Irish know that the Irish would. So if you are that prejudiced and screwed up, man, what Jewish father would do that, man? Are you kidding? What Italian father would do that? It's only the Irish that sell their kids for bottles with a lot of bullshit. The Irish are the most persecuted minority group ever. When the Jew says a shik is a goy, he doesn't mean the Greek. When the Italians say Medigan, it's the Irish that get zing, 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 zing. Vicious zingos. And I wonder why? Well, here's what goes down, you see. Everybody...
I mean, Great Britain did oppress the Irish people for decades.
No, they were oppressed in America, too. The Irish and the Italians. We don't want to
talk about that because they're not important people.
Yep.
Actually, my would be like the 13th or 14th grandfather came to the country, and he was what they called a Huguenot, which is a group that was in England and Ireland that was against the separation of church and state. And they kept getting pushed around. We don't want to deal with them. Send them over here. We don't want to deal with them. Send them over here. So then my 14th or 15th great grandfather basically got a one-way ticket to a place called America. And his last name was like Mulkin. And he changed it when he came over to the United States to Mullins to make it sound like it was more American.
There was a lot of that when people came over to, was it Ellis Island in the 20s? That's when my family came over here. Lots of either changing their name to make it sound a little less ethnic, or the people that were checking them in, like Italians in particular, they couldn't speak English. So the guy that's checking them in and taking their name can't really understand what they're saying, so they'd wind up botching the last name, and it was officially on record, so they were stuck with it.
So my family didn't come over on the Mayflower, but they came in after. I thought they called it the William and Mary ship.
Okay.
And he was married. So on the document, it says his name. His name was Abraham. It's like Abraham Mulkin +1, and he was married at the time. And when he came over to the country, he ported in North Carolina, and became a soap maker. So his title or his job was soap maker.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Everybody is always bitching and drug with and would like to thwart authority. Well, unfortunately for the Irish, writing came to Ireland in the 5th century, and so they memorized everything, and they're genius orators. So when they came over here, man, they got the gigs in government. They were the heat. They were the rulers. Mm-hmm. And people got drugged with that, man. That's why it's such a difference between L.A. and San Francisco.
Maybe a little bit more context on that one.
Well, I kind of get where he was going with the Irish and that they were so persecuted when they came over that then they decided, there's a lot of police officers that are Irish or were in the early 20th century, like around 30s, 40s, that area. And they may have said, well, one way to stop being persecuted is to become the law. Then we're the ones doing the persecution. And,
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we're tired of the man pushing us down, so we'll become the man.
We'll just be the man. That's right. Yep.
Okay, so this is the great George Carlin on being busted with Lenny Bruce.
Huh.
So George Carlin and him were rubbing elbows.
Okay, it's the first time they made a bust right in an audience.
And then suddenly this policeman stood up, and I believe he actually said the words, "Okay, folks, the show is over."
You know what's funny though is I know George Carlin with the beard and the ponytail.
Yeah.
But to see him like as a young man like that,
I know.
he doesn't look anything like that. I
Right.
remember him.
Yep.
Which, of course, is a cliche that policemen use just at a killing, in a bar. When the crowd is, they want to break up the crowd. Okay, the show's over. The show's over. He actually said it in context. Everybody have a seat. They began to check people's IDs, and they had the people leave the club through the only door, the upstairs only door, one by one show their ID, because basically what they wanted to do was to catch someone underage so they could give the club trouble. And they found this girl, apparently. I guess she was 15 or something. I forget now.
So even if they didn't, even if Lenny Bruce didn't say a bad word, they were still looking for something to arrest somebody for.
Yeah.
Either there's an underage girl that's in there, or somebody is a little bit inebriated, or that stuff I hate. I hate them just trying to look for stuff.
Yeah, it's like, well, we're here anyway. Let's
let's
gotta be something swarthy going on around here. We'll find it.
And then you could automatically pin that on the club owner, and it's like, I didn't have anything to do with that.
Right. Yep.
So that's the stuff that I hate. I hate where it's sort of like, well, we're looking for this and we didn't get this, so we're gonna look for something else and dig a little deeper so that we can screw somebody else over. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, no.
Now, but in checking everyone, Vince and I just kept drinking our beers, and all the beer we could get, because the upstairs bar was right there. The service bar was in there. I was good and juiced by the time we got to us, and we purposely waited to be almost the last people just to watch all this going on. So when I got to the door and the policeman said, "ID, you want to see your ID?" I said, "I don't believe in ID." Just a smart-ass Irish guy, a little drunk, who didn't like authority anyway, and didn't really care much for regulations my whole life. So I always give him some shit, So I said, "I don't believe in ID." So he was a little exasperated by this point, this policeman. I guess he was in plainclothes. And he sort of grabbed me by the collar of the suit and the baggy pant of my ass, and kind of bum rushed me down the stairs, kind of forcing me down the stairs and on my way out. And downstairs, there was a place that you'd pass through, and on the left there were two little portals that led into the bar area and the cocktail lounge area. And I knew Brenda was in there. So as they're rushing me past that, I said, "Tell Brenda I'm going to jail." And
All right. Now here's a guy we love. We love some Dangerfield.
Oh, Rodney. Yep.
And he's talking a little bit about Lenny Bruce.
You knew and you even worked with Lenny Bruce, didn't you?
Well, we never worked together, but I knew him because I was a singing waiter when I was 19 place, and his mother was a mistress of ceremonies. And I was 19 then, and I met Lenny. He was about 17. I was a couple of years older than he, and he was in the Navy, and then he got out of the Navy, and he started going with me on my jobs. We hung out together quite a bit. I knew him very well. We never worked together because we were both doing singles, but I knew Lenny quite well.
What was he like when you knew him?
Lenny was a very giving person. He was a very nice person. He was not understood by all, perhaps. When he started doing his wild things and he shocked America with what he would talk, his language, and perhaps he was ahead of his time. That was 20 years ago, whatever it was, and today they're saying the same things, even worse, and now it's all accepted.
Which is wild.
No, what he said is kind of what you said earlier. Like Lenny Bruce took one for the team, so to speak.
Yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield, very sweaty man. Always sweating, patting himself down all the time.
Yeah. I don't know unless he had a phobia for sweating all the time. I don't know. Okay, so this is Joan Rivers talking a little bit about Lenny Bruce.
Oh, love Joan Rivers.
If I'm a fan of someone, I love them. But I love one of your things in your book that I loved was when
Which
you said,
one?
Enter Talking. I have read the others.
7 books.
Is when Lenny Bruce wrote you that note that said, "You're right, they're wrong." I think about that all the time. I pretend he wrote it to me when things aren't going well. Yeah.
But did I tell you the second half of that?
No.
I lived for years, and I shouldn't talk. It's my show, and I want you to talk. Not that much, but
Could you imagine that if you do an act and Lenny Bruce just puts a little note says, "You're right and they're wrong."
Mm-hmm. It's would mean a lot, I would imagine.
I'd put it on the wall and put a frickin' frame around it. You're right, they're wrong.
Who cares? But for years, I lived on Lenny Bruce sent me a show. You're right, they're wrong. And then one night I'm sitting with George Carlin, and he's saying, Lenny loved me. Because we all, everybody was about Lenny loving you. I said, yeah. He said, he wrote me a note one time. Said, you're right, they're wrong. So obviously, he kept them in his pocket.
Nah.
And instead of paying the bill, he just sent a note back.
Oh, that's so funny and well, that's all right. Maybe it was just you two.
Maybe
that's
it was
good
just George Carlin.
Yeah.
So you already had it pre-written out?
Oh yeah. So there's 10 comedians out there that got the same damn note. Well, he once wrote me a note that said, "You're right and they're wrong." What a coincidence. He wrote me a note that said, "You're right and they're wrong." What was that about? A note about "you're right and they're me too"? I got one. No, not that special.
But they wouldn't have known that. They didn't. Obviously, social media wasn't around back then.
Mm-hmm.
So the unless you specifically called somebody to let them know that Lenny Bruce wrote you a little note that was already pre-written, they wouldn't have known.
Nah.
And then maybe in a party or a gathering that's like, "Hey, Lenny, wrote me a nice note," and it's like, "Wait a minute, I got the same note."
Yeah, I mean, all those comedians I'm sure they spent time together just on the circuit or whatever, so it probably came up, I would imagine.
I wonder if one of those is for sale. Does somebody just put it on eBay or something? You're right, they're wrong.
Gonna get that on my tombstone. It's gonna say, "I was right and you're all wrong."
That's great. Okay, this is a minute and 34 audio burst. Just kind of like a comment. It says dead 50 years and still relevant, so it's a little.
Marijuana, I never smoked pot. I never dug it. It's Schleifelhoi. It's it'll probably be legal. I figured it'd be legal in about 3 years. Most of the law students I know smoke marijuana. That's why. And
was he aware that he was a first?
Interesting how he did the hard drugs, but he didn't like marijuana.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll just put it in my veins.
And he's just like that snail woman for real. He's just cutting out the middleman. Just get right to heroin.
Yeah. Lee. He got arrested for using the word "smuck" in a performance.
That's old Borscht Belt comedy. It's always the schmuck. Ain't nothing but a schmuck.
That using schmuck, and he got arrested for that.
He's a schwarzer schmuck.
To confront.
If somebody called me a schmuck in 2025, I would just laugh. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, you're funny.
Okay.
I had somebody call me, I don't know if they were messing around or whatever, but you know, when somebody calls me a cracker, I just like start laughing like, okay.
I know. Is that supposed to offend me?
Is that supposed to offend me? Like, I know I'm like the whitest of the white guys.
Mm-hmm. Cracker.
That's like calling the kettle black. Like, I already know that I'm the whitest of the white guys. You don't have to point it out to me.
Yep.
The government on these issues of free speech from an entertainer's perspective?
Was he aware of that? That's a good question. I mean, I think another way to ask that question is, was he aware of being a pioneer? And I think certainly his legal battles put him in that position, and he certainly would have been aware of the effect that those conversations...
What was that?
I wonder if he had any inkling of the impact his fighting the government would have down the road, or if he was just kind of winging it as he went.
I mean, they kind of beat him down, though, right? So I don't know if he would have been thinking about that, because they literally just beat him down to the ground, and then he drugged himself to death, basically.
Yeah, it's a good. I didn't think of that before, but yeah, maybe the stress of all the government being on him all the time, maybe that led him down the road to, doing drugs and stuff.
He was already doing the drugs, but that was sort of the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Where they wore him down to the point where he literally had a house in the Hollywood Hills, and that's it.
Conversations we're having on the public, on his own humor, whether or not it was funny. He certainly led the way in being transgressive, and I think in linking his comedy and his life to the very laws that govern our society, he was pushing it as a legal conversation as well as a cultural one, and as well as a humor conversation.
Religion recognizes decency, where the Constitution doesn't. There's no decent and indecent. The Constitution only recognizes that all people, when they are illegal, are immoral. And then they get busted and they're indecent. And that's where it's at.
He's a smart guy.
Thought.
Yeah.
Smart guy. Okay, what is this one? Okay, so this one right here, this is a 5-minute clip. Lenny Bruce on stage before he died. So I don't know if this is the... Okay, so he was beaten down. They basically took his life, took his money, because he lost a court case in New York. And I remember earlier I showed you that document of all the stuff that they were saying. Like, that's what they built an entire case on him and wiped him out. So he was basically penniless. He got a couple little gigs here and there to kind of just try to scrape by and try to get like some decency back. But he was pretty much done. And this is one of the performances that he did before he actually died. This was when he was basically done, and there's a pile of rubble over there that we used to call Lenny Bruce. So he's already beat down. He's already went through the court case. His life is pretty much over.
Okay.
You know, I like to do that because it's classic illustration in the eye of the beholder. Because I watch the people, when I get a lot of rejection, I assume that there's a lot of Jews out here who don't know what I'm doing, think I'm trying to hit them. Or perhaps there's a lot of quasi-Catholics, missionary-trained Catholics, who have no concept of Catholicism and think that Catholics worship statues and symbols. not the case. They were hassling, I understand this, a mime group were doing their act in the park, and they didn't have a certificate, and they got busted. And some freedom of speech issue. Well, I think they missed one point. They were doing their act in front of the Catholic Church. And, see, on stage, in other words, a stripper in a burlesque house on stage goes, here it is, boys, da-da-da, it's cool. But let her do that in the public park on the way home, and her ass is in jail. And the reason for that is that the people in the park didn't ask for that. In other words, you can yell fire in a crowded theater if you're on stage, but don't do it off stage. The theater is make-believe. That's where it's at. And I figured out after 4 years why I got arrested so many times. See what happened. It's been a comedy of errors. Here's how it happened. I do my act at perhaps 11 o'clock at night. Little do I know that 11 a.m. the next morning.
So that was the fight that he... Okay, so when he went into the court case... That was one of his main things that he was trying to battle. Obviously, freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
But to distinguish what is said on the stage as a performer versus in a public place, that's what they were trying to distinguish, is I can say these words on stage because it's part of my act. I'm entertaining people. I make fun of everybody. I don't make fun of just one color, one race, one religion. I literally make fun of everybody. And if you watch more of his stuff on YouTube, he makes fun of everybody. He uses all kinds of slurs and everything, making fun of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what his contentions was like, on stage, I'm performing, I'm entertaining with people. People are paying to see me, so they don't mind my language because they're paying for that. As opposed to me going in a park and just saying whatever and offending somebody that's walking by that didn't ask to be entertained.
Yeah, I mean, the difference there is the audience wants to be there. Whereas if some guy's screaming obscenities on a street corner and you have your kids with you.
That was his fight during during that whole litigation. That was his fight, and he still lost because to them, they want to strip him of everything and fuck that guy. Which, in my opinion, that's actually a pretty good reason to fight, like his angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And now it's not a thing because you can go to a comedy club and they can talk about whatever the fuck they want, and nobody's ever going to say anything.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like there's certain comics that you know their material, so you know that they're going to talk about race stuff, or they're going to talk about this, or they're going to talk about that. You kind of know that going into it. You know what I mean? I always hated the people that would bitch about stuff that they're not involved in. You know what I mean? That's why I always have a big shit about, your team changing their fucking logo and their name.
Well, I'm not happy about that either. But
it's people that aren't involved in that are crying.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same legal battle across the board. That's why I hate that shit where it's like bowing down to somebody that doesn't have a right in the race. They don't watch the product. Shut up. You know what I mean?
I agree. It's like, well, just don't go to his comedy shows. Then you don't have to worry about it. It's easy.
Yeah.
Shut the screen off. Turn the computer off.
Another way of they had radio, so they had audio clips. That was it. You didn't have anything else. Television was 3 stations.
Yeah.
And the 3 stations are not playing Lenny Bruce.
No.
So it's like you either listen to one of his his comedy albums or you go see him live. That's pretty much the only 2 ways that you had to go see him.
Yeah.
And you can choose not to do either.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just somebody reading an article in a newspaper, giving Bruce a hard time for working blue, so to speak, to use that phrase again. And then all of a sudden getting offended based on an article you read, despite having never seen nor heard of Lenny Bruce. But all of a sudden now you're a crusader against Lenny Bruce because the man in the newspaper said he was bad.
Yeah, and then like I said, the politicians jump on. Oh, this is a bad guy. We're going to use him as ours. Oh, we're going after that guy. You know what I mean?
Before the grand jury somewhere, is another guy doing my act who's introduced as Lenny Bruce in substance. Here he is, Lenny Bruce in substance. a peace officer who is trained to recognize clear and present dangers, not make believe, does the act. The grand jury watches him work and they go, that stinks. But I get busted. And the irony is that I have to go to court and defend his act. Because he can only defend the complaint. And the judge, who never heard of Lenny Bruce, is going, no, now hear Lenny Bruce. 6 weeks before the peace officer gets the assignment. And see, well, this relates to the headline that I saw in the Chronicle and also the LA paper. It says, the Negroes versus the cops. It's about time that the people got hip to something, how the system works in our country, what the cop's position is, and what your position is. You see, if you can reduce the whole community to 100 people, the early tribe, the first law is religious law. We all had a simple rule. Okay, the rule, we sleep in area A. We eat in area B, we throw garbage in area C. All agreed, all agreed. Solid. Go to sleep, guy wakes up, gets a face full of garbage. Hey, what's the deal here? I thought it was A, B, and C. Tell all you people having a big party. I'm all alone, I'm sleeping, I got a face full of garbage. As well, it's a religious holiday. No, not religion, it's your ass. Oh. Well, that's not too good a rule. And this guy started, the first guy, separating the church and the state. Because, see, in the democracy...
And here's the thing, I don't know if you knew this or not, but the separation of church and state is not in any of our documents in the United States. Ever.
No, somebody should put it in one.
I'm just saying this. People want to say, oh, it's a separation of church and state. It's not in the Constitution. It's not the Bill of Rights. It's not any of those. Anyway.
The rule has no mercy to it. It's just a rule. It stays constant. It's okay, here's a rule now. A, B, and C, and we're going to enforce the rule because we got to get some sleep. Now we'll hire a cop. Policeman, here's your gig. If anybody throws any garbage on us while we're sleeping, you throw their ass right in the shit house. They live with this garbage, you understand? All right, you take the gig, you do it. So the cop said, what about if it's a guy's aunt? Well, you don't understand. Aunt your ass. We want to get some sleep. Anybody's aunt, mother, brother gets thrown right in the shit house. That's it. The rule is consistent. Now the other guy goes, okay, that's the rule, but I tell you what, policeman, don't kick their ass, throw them in the garbage, but don't do it when I'm around, okay? I'll go in the next room. But if they do it, throw them right in the garbage and keep them there. You see, I can't do it because I'm too nice a guy. And you see, you got to have a certain mentality to do that to people. So I'll wait in the back room and you kick their ass. All right, good. So what happens, the rule gets bigger and bigger, and it goes, okay, nobody on the post office steps, that's the rule. Okay, nobody in the street, that's the rule. Rule, hire the cop. Now, up in Harlem, there's 9,000 people wailing their ass off, sticks and stones. They get a cop with a short-sleeve shirt on and a stick in his hand. And people yelling Gestapo at him. Gestapo, you schmuck, I'm the mailman.
Well,
what do you want from me? Now,
It was getting pretty political there. It's interesting. The earlier routine you played, it was more jokey, like there were jokes.
Yeah.
That just seemed like a rant.
Well, yeah, because he literally had his pants turned down
Mhm.
and was broke.
Yep.
So he's a little bitter. Wouldn't you be a little bitter if your little bare ass is pretty much done?
Yeah, probably, but I don't know. I also sometimes don't care for when musicians put politics in their music. Just like, can you just play some good songs, please? But I get it. He was persecuted and talked about it. And that's what made him Lenny Bruce.
Okay, so the last Lenny Bruce clip that I have is this is his mother, Sally Marr, and then there's an actor, Sandy Barron, that played Lenny Bruce, I think in a TV movie or in maybe a regular movie, and he's kind of talking about not knowing him personally, but knowing his mom, and then his mom says a little thing. So this is a longer clip. We're not going to watch the entire thing, but I wanted to show a little bit of it just because his mom was in it talking about Lenny.
To bust all the barriers that people always knew were full of shit and they believe weren't.
That's right.
It keeps doing that because I have ad blocker, and it keeps on doing that.
One, Sally.
It started in the cradle.
Is that where it started?
That's
in
right.
the cradle?
It started in the cradle when his mother
He was the original, too. Here's the original one.
Right.
No,
Boots. Boots.
No, I used the name Boots Malloy when I first came out here. That was Lenny's idea.
Uh-huh.
He was working burlesque, and I had a group with Jackie Gale, and I was going back to New York, Sally Marner Escort.
I know he worked burlesque.
I was a stand-up comic.
Right.
You know that,
yeah. I know he worked burlesque because you know why? I subbed in for him on Pico and Western Avenue.
Oh, did you know that?
I subbed for Lenny on Pico in the strip joint on his night off, and I got $25. Some agent.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it?
25 a night.
Isn't it amazing, Skip, that
Wouldn't that be funny that your dear sweet mom was a burlesque dancer back when she was a little younger?
Like, it would be odd.
And then
that's for
you,
sure.
as a comic, would do comic stuff at the burlesque place, and then you'd go to strip joints and do your set. Alongside with your mom.
Yeah, that's the part I don't like. Doing gigs in strip clubs sounds amazing. The mom part, you can get rid of that.
So didn't you kind of stunt his growth a little bit, having him already in the strip clubs?
I think
with your mom.
I think he didn't have a chance. Poor Lenny. What in the hell is the interviewer wearing? It looked like something died and attached itself around its neck right before it died, and it's still there.
It's very possible.
let's say you took brilliant material.
Right.
And you put it on a scale and you said, I wonder where that kind of brilliance came from. He probably worked concerts where everybody was quiet and adorable and well-behaved.
Right.
And that's how come he had the time and the freedom to invent all this genius material.
Yeah.
But that ain't the way it happened. The amazing thing about it is he worked the single toughest sewers and garbage
That's right.
cans in the universe.
Toughest.
And still managed to form this absolutely beautiful material. That's why I think Lenny's very important to other comedians, only because once you've studied his material, I mean, in my case, I studied it to play it, but even before I was lucky enough to play it, I was studying it.
Right.
You know, it's a fancy word for semi-rip-off. But I was studying it for sure, and I realized that the best thing to remember about Lenny was the quality of the material and the delivery. So that when you're beginning to feel that you're getting terrific, he's a perfect reminder you're not, and you got plenty to go.
Right.
And that's a very valuable man.
But he had a lot of hecklers in his day, right, Sally? That's when show business, when you can handle hecklers in strip joints. We had hecklers those days.
Yeah, but
He handled them great.
They didn't bother him.
No.
And he handled them very good-naturedly.
Yes.
You know, there was when he worked Ann's 440, you know.
Yeah, because they're there to see boobs. They're not there to see Lenny
Oh,
Bruce.
right.
So
Right,
they
which-
were a little bit like hot and bothered.
Yeah, yeah, but that brings us back to what we were saying earlier, and it's becoming more apparent that he had to be edgy and subversive to get any attention whatsoever if you're opening for boobs.
Yeah. So on a necessity, I think that's why he started being a dirty comic, or what do they call it?
Yeah.
Working at Blue.
Sick comic, as he said.
Yeah, sick comic. Because he had to. He had to be able to keep people's attention at strip clubs, at burlesque bars, at random freaking street corners. He had to keep people's attention. So he had to figure out a way. So I don't hate him at all for doing that, because he had to figure out to make himself different than everyone else.
Yeah, you have to adjust to your environment or you're an idiot, and he did.
Yeah.
And was successful, pretty much.
Yeah, he's very successful, but he paid the ultimate price for that because of his drug use, because of the government coming down on him. Yeah, because he would have to double and triple down on it.
Yep.
So yeah, he took the bullet for a lot of people that a lot of people don't give him the credit for. I don't think. I mean, some people do, but
I didn't know anything about Lenny Bruce before you mentioned you wanted to cover him on our show. And I didn't know. Now, after seeing this and doing some reading, I'm like, holy shit, modern comedians owe him a lot for what he did.
Oh, absolutely.
The first time he'd worked in San Francisco, and there was a heckler back there swearing his head off, and Lenny's trying to do an impression of James Dean with a piece of straw. And Lenny reacted. He loved to show his profile. And he was doing it, and the guy kept saying, Lenny, don't let me a drinker. I say, what the hell kind of a shit out of this? Or screaming and swearing. And Lenny kept quiet, and I thought, what's he going to do now? In the middle of his act. He let him talk. He let him swear about 3 or 4 times, and finally said, "Name dropper."
Lenny wanted to be a dancer.
No, you're wrong.
No, am I?
No,
And here I'm on
Lenny
the
was
second
a
one.
klutz. I don't think you have much information.
Where am I going? I don't
I don't know
know.
where you got all. I had a dancing school
Uh-huh.
for years.
Oh, you had the
In
dancing school.
1942, I became a stand-up comic. And did you know, for some information,
Uh-huh.
I was the first female stand-up comic in New York City.
I didn't know that.
Now you know it.
No,
Now
yeah.
the world knows it. Now the whole world knows it.
And your name was not Sally Marr at that
Sally
time.
Marr.
Was it Sally Marr?
Yes, Sally
Yes?
Marr.
I see.
I changed it for a while because I didn't think I was going to stay out here.
Did you work the Catskills and all that?
No, I was a flop.
Uh-huh.
I really was a flop in the Catskills. I
Uh-huh.
was doing a satire, Lady Macbeth, hark to the voice of my father. It was always easy to speak. What did she say?
Perfect for the Concord. Perfect.
I really was a flop.
A satire
But
Macbeth.
I'll tell you what was funny is when I was walking into the places and the women that stopped me and said, "What are you doing? Where are you running?" I says,
Could you imagine that? I mean, as far as comedians, she has to be a pioneer.
Yeah.
A woman comic in the 40s.
Yeah, not too many of them, that's for sure. I do like that she kind of roasted the interviewer, saying, "I don't know where you're getting this information from." Like she was kind of giving him the business for, no, that didn't happen. Where are you getting that from?
It's like this is his mother, so his mother's gonna. No,
Yeah.
a good deal.
Right. Yeah, don't tell the woman what her son did. Like she already knows. She knows.
And the only thing out of all the research and the stuff that we watched and everything, it didn't seem like the mom really stopped him in his drug use. Didn't say much about it.
Well, I mean,
do you think it was a common practice back then that people were doing morphine, people were doing?
I don't think so. She might,
because ultimately he died of a morphine overdose.
Yeah. I don't know how close they were at that point in his life.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't, maybe she didn't I didn't live with, past 30 years old. I could have been doing heroin for all my mom knew because it's, she lived somewhere else. I called her sometimes. She wouldn't know. So she might just not have known.
Yeah.
I'm going to rehearse. Rehearse what? What do you do? I say, sing, I dance, I talk. Oh, she talk. I talk too. What else do you do? She, what do you do in the wintertime? I said, I wear a coat. Now, when I left there, that was the material that I used to get laughs somewhere else. But the Jewish people ate ham.
I see.
It was a different element.
And you did Lenny on Broadway.
Yeah,
What year was that? In I saw it with
Cliff Gorman.
Cliff Gorman
Cliff was
before I went to
wonderful,
Europe.
yeah,
See, I
and
was in
then
Europe when you did it. And I didn't see you. I hear you were fabulous.
I was terrific.
Yes, you were.
And
You were
shy,
fabulous.
and wait, she said the best. Oh, that I wanted.
Yep, I ruled.
Let me reach over there real quick.
Caught it. And I'm shy and modest. No, I think I was wonderful.
Yes.
I think that,
I mean, you kind of have to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, because if you show that you're like intimidated or you don't have the knowledge, people aren't going to listen to you. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to have a little bit of that. People go overboard, of course, but you need to have a little bit of a chip.
Yeah, if you're going to portray somebody as powerful and iconic as Lenny Bruce, you got to come with a little confidence, swagger.
No, I don't want to play fake cute. I don't think I was wonderful in everything I ever did, so I have the right to say it in this one.
Yes.
I was wonderful, number one, because in some crazy way, it felt so damn natural. I had already known Sally when I first came out here to do my first series, Hey Landlord. She befriended me.
And he does look a lot like Lenny Bruce.
Yep.
Like he could be like his brother.
He's got the same,
began
like
moving me
the
in.
profile's the same. He's got like the sloping, like a sloping nose.
So yeah, he was definitely cast well, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the LA people she knew I had to know to stay what you call New York funny, energy funny.
Yes, right.
And if not, you become like Mr. Adorable situation comedy. And she was wonderful to me, and I knew Kitty, and I had always felt
Kitty
something.
is his wife.
No,
I mean his daughter.
Is his daughter.
I know. I wish I'd get. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, right. His daughter.
His daughter's
Yeah,
name is Kitty.
Kitty.
Bruce.
He's talking about Lenny Bruce, the
Lenny-
ventriloquist, another
No,
guy.
no. No, I know.
It's a funny show.
Somebody didn't do their research.
I know. Yeah, he's not doing a good job, that interviewer.
Blowing it. We'll watch a little bit more.
Okay.
It's another guy. It's his birthday, too. He works on Fairfax.
13th.
What the hell are you doing here?
Where is Kitty now?
Kitty's singing.
Oh,
She's
by
singing.
the way, she's working with George Carlin. And I just
She's
enjoyed
wonderful.
listening to
I hear
her
she is,
act.
yeah.
She's wonderful. She's sexy on stage. She's attractive.
She works back
She's
east.
not frightened. She,
Great
she
presence.
sings jazz, blues, rock.
Yes.
Now
Yeah,
she
she's
became
damn
a
good.
rock singer with her own group. She's working with George Carlin, and she's recording her label. I don't know
Great.
why.
I'm saying all these nice things about her because I don't want her to do jokes. I'm afraid maybe she inherited something.
She did.
And it's
She does.
Now, getting back, what year was this you did Lenny on Broadway?
Lenny was 71
And you did it,
to
how
72.
long did you do it?
I did it 3 months on Broadway. I replaced Gorman. I got really good reviews.
Yeah, I saw it.
And then we brought it here to the Aquarius Theater in Los Angeles where it was a smash. And then, here's the one that interested me, was in San Diego. And,
Yeah, I remember you did that.
Yeah. Well, the reason I want to talk about San Diego is, forget me for the minute, because it was one of those theaters called, what the hell was it? The Off-Broadway Theater in San Diego. And they played summer packages, adorable little innocent, non-offensive, no way out, you couldn't offend anybody on the earth, like Eve Arden in How's Your Summer House, you know?
That would be difficult trying to do anything that Lenny Bruce is attached with because his whole act was controversy.
Mm-hmm.
How could you try to do it like PG?
Yeah, you couldn't do you couldn't do a TV movie on Lenny Bruce.
So it's like I understand that it was a three month run or something, but yeah, there'd be a lot of stuff. It's like okay, it's a PG version of Lenny Bruce.
Bring your kids, everybody, to the Lenny Bruce story.
When he was literally chaos in a package,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. His whole gimmick was offending people. You can't take that out.
His whole thing was offending people. Okay, so that is pretty much it for Lenny Bruce. So what did you? Was there? I understand that we both did a little bit of research before the stream and picked up some certain things. Is there anything that you now understand what kind of impact that he had, or is there something
I came in after the little research I did last night, kind of with a negative slant on him. But I came out of this after watching all these things and listening to you talk about it and stuff, with a more positive slant on him, just for what he did for comedy. There's still, there's still ways to go in that because there are certain colors of comedians that can't say certain things. You have to, you know what I mean? You can't be a white comic and say all kinds of crazy shit. You'll get in trouble. But other than that,
ridiculous.
Well, it's stupid, but I think his fight was worth it. Unfortunately, he did not see the fruits of his sacrifice in any way, but an entire generation of comedians did. So I didn't know he was such an icon and so important, but now I do.
Yeah. Yeah, before doing the research and everything, I knew that he was a druggie, and I knew that people held him up at some kind of high regard. And it's like, he's a druggie, but why do they hold him up so much as a high regard? Because also the great comics would always say Lenny Bruce, and it's like, okay, what is the deal with this guy? Why would they listen to a guy that's shooting up heroin and morphine all the time? It's got track marks on his arms. Like why are they holding this guy up specifically the very high regard? And now I know why, just based off of the research and us doing the stream, where he took the bullet for a lot of people.
Yeah, you can hate, you think negatively on some of the things he did, like committing crime, stealing. And then like heroin, like I said, that's a self-inflicted situation, but it's still sad and not good. So you can kind of dislike the person a little bit, but you can't argue with his legacy and how positive it's been for lots of people who followed up on his craft. So
and you always say separating the art from the artist.
Yeah, that's how I would put I'm not even saying he was a bad person.
Yeah.
But I had the same thoughts as you, Derek, like, well, he's another drug addict who's trying to stick it to the man, counterculture man, which I'm not really into, that whole kind of beatnik hippie stuff. But a lot of comedians, like the ones you talk, Pryor, Carlin, Kinison, owe a lot to him.
Yeah.
And so he
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yep. So you cannot respect the man, but you have to respect his legacy.
Yeah. And it's just the saddest part is just him not being able to appreciate the path that he opened up for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because he was so damaged, he was so hurt and damaged person that he didn't get a chance to like smell the roses, basically.
Yep. When I think of Lenny Bruce now, I will think of him differently than I would have yesterday after the show.
Yeah. Which is kind of what I wanted to do when I said that we were going to do Lenny Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I wanted to kind of explore like why do people hold him up in such a regard, and now I know why.
Mm-hmm. Makes me want to.
Yes, he was a wild man. Yes, he was a druggie. Yes, he was everything, but he was everything and beat down but he was a winner and he opened up so many doors for people.
Yep, it makes me want to watch more of a stand-up, actually, which I'll probably throw in the background tomorrow while I'm screwing around with pivot tables at work.
Oh, nice. Good old pivot tables.